Have you ever found yourself thinking, once I get that promotion, or, once I buy that dream house, or once I finally achieve that goal, then I'll finally be happy?
Many people do think this way.
It's this pervasive idea that happiness is kind of waiting for us at the top of some mountain.
Well, this is the arrival fallacy, and that's what we're going to be exploring today.
The arrival fallacy.
It's this illusion that if we reach a specific goal, it guarantees happiness.
It's a really interesting term, arrival fallacy. Where does that come from?
Yeah, so the term was coined by Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar. He's a leading expert in the field of positive psychology.
Okay.
And his research shows that even people who achieve great success, they still feel this emptiness.
So even those who you would think, oh, they've got it all, they've reached the top of that mountain, they still don't have that happiness.
Exactly. They get to the top, and instead of feeling fulfilled, they feel this void.
I see. So it really challenges that conventional idea that success equals happiness.
Right. And I think this disconnect comes from the temporary nature of happiness that we get from achievements. So you achieve a goal, there's that initial euphoria, but it fades, and then we're on to the next goal, thinking that will be the one that brings lasting happiness.
So it's a cycle. You achieve a goal, you experience a little bit of joy, you set a new goal, and then the cycle repeats.
It does. It's like climbing a ladder that never ends. You never actually reach the top.
So are we all just destined to be on this endless pursuit of happiness?
Let's look at some real-world examples to really see how this plays out.
Okay.
Have you heard of Ray Allen?
The NBA player.
Yes, the NBA legend.
Yeah.
He dedicated his whole career to winning a championship. He thought that would be the ultimate achievement.
And he did achieve that.
He did. He won a championship with the Boston Celtics.
Right.
But later, he said he felt this hollowness after winning.
Really?
It's like the victory, it was important, but it didn't change who he was as a person.
He was still Ray Allen, just with a trophy.
Exactly. And it shows that even achieving a lifelong dream isn't a guarantee for happiness.
Wow. So even achieving something that huge doesn't necessarily bring that lasting fulfillment.
And we see this with other people, too.
Okay.
Like Michael Phelps.
The Olympian.
The most decorated Olympian in history.
Yes.
Even at the height of his career, he struggled with depression.
That's so surprising to me. I would think that level of success would equal constant happiness.
It's a common misconception that outward success means inner happiness.
Yeah, I guess we see these famous figures and we think they must have it all.
But these examples show that the arrival fallacy can affect anyone.
So it's not just about these big achievements like winning an NBA championship or an Olympic gold medal. It can happen with anything.
Exactly.
This is making me rethink my own to-do list and how I view happiness.
It's important to recognize that external achievements don't automatically equal lasting happiness.
So if reaching those milestones doesn't guarantee happiness, what does?
That's the question we need to explore. But first, we need to understand a concept that goes hand in hand with the arrival fallacy. It's called the hedonic treadmill.
The hedonic treadmill. What is that?
Imagine running on a treadmill.
Okay.
You're putting in effort, but you're not really going anywhere.
You're staying in the same place.
Exactly. And the hedonic treadmill says that no matter what happens in life, good or bad, we tend to return to a baseline level of happiness.
So even after a big event, our emotional state eventually goes back to normal.
It does.
Interesting.
Like, think about buying a new car.
Okay.
At first, you're excited, but that excitement fades, and the car becomes just another car.
Or getting a promotion at work.
Yeah, you're happy at first, but then you have more responsibility and maybe more stress.
And then you get used to it.
Even major life events like marriage.
Right.
After the honeymoon phase, it settles into everyday life.
So we adapt to the good and the bad.
We do.
So is this adaptation what makes the arrival fallacy so powerful? We think chasing that next milestone will bring lasting happiness, but we're just on this treadmill, never really getting to a place of permanent bliss.
That's the core idea. We're always looking for the next source of happiness without realizing that true fulfillment might not be found in external achievements.
So why are we so susceptible to this illusion? Why do we keep falling into this trap of thinking happiness is just around the corner?
Well, there are a few reasons.
Okay.
And one of the big ones is the story we're told about success from a young age.
Okay.
This narrative shapes how we see a fulfilling life.
This societal idea that certain achievements mean you'll be happy definitely plays a role in why we fall for the arrival fallacy.
It's everywhere we look.
It really is.
Like, think about it. From
Yeah.
when we're kids, we're told, do well in school, go to a good college, get a high-paying job.
Climb the ladder.
Exactly. And it makes us think if we do all that, we'll automatically be happy.
It equates those external things with inner fulfillment.
And that can be really misleading.
It is, because it suggests that happiness is like a destination you reach and then stay there forever.
Exactly. But happiness is an emotion. It
Mhm.
comes and goes. It's not something you can just possess permanently.
So it's not like checking things off a list.
No, it's not about reaching a specific point and saying, okay, I'm happy now.
It's more fluid than that.
It
It
is.
seems like we're also up against our own biology in this pursuit of happiness.
Our brains love anticipation.
Oh,
When
yeah.
we're working towards a goal, our brains release dopamine.
Dopamine, the feel-good chemical.
Exactly. And that dopamine motivates us to keep going to achieve that goal.
So the pleasure comes not just from reaching the goal,
Yeah.
but from the anticipation leading up to it.
Yes, the pursuit itself is rewarding.
But then the goal is achieved, and what happens?
The dopamine levels drop, and we feel this emptiness again.
So that explains why there's sometimes that letdown after achieving something you've worked so hard for.
The excitement fades, and we start looking for the next thing to chase.
To get that dopamine hit again?
It's like a chemical trap that keeps us constantly seeking more.
So how do we break free from this trap?
Well, there's another factor at play here that we haven't talked about yet.
You mentioned it earlier, the fear of the void.
Right, and this fear is about confronting our inner world, our thoughts and emotions, without the distraction of external achievements.
So we keep ourselves busy striving and achieving so we don't have to look inward.
In a way, it's like we're using achievements as a shield to protect us from ourselves.
That's a really interesting idea. Are we all just running from ourselves then?
It's more common than you might think. We fill our lives with goals and to-do lists, always seeking validation from the outside.
Instead of looking for it within.
Exactly, and that can keep us from truly connecting with ourselves and finding that inner peace.
So is all ambition then driven by this fear of the void?
Not necessarily. Ambition itself isn't a bad thing.
Okay.
It depends on the motivation behind it. If it comes from a genuine desire to grow, to learn, to contribute, then ambition can be a really positive force.
But if it's just about proving ourselves or filling the void,
Right.
then it can lead to those traps we've been talking about. So it's about figuring out what's driving us.
Exactly. Are we running towards something or are we running away from something?
That's a big question to consider, and it seems crucial in breaking free from this arrival fallacy.
It is.
But how do we actually make that shift? How do we find that sense of fulfillment that doesn't depend on external things?
Breaking free from this illusion, it requires a change in perspective, a new way of thinking about success and happiness.
I'm ready to hear more about that.
Absolutely. The first step is recognizing that the arrival fallacy, it's just a thought pattern. It makes us focus on what we're missing instead of appreciating what we have.
So changing our perspective is key. Instead of focusing on lack, we need to focus on abundance.
Exactly. And a big part of that is finding contentment in the present moment.
Right? Not constantly looking to the future for happiness.
Remember those practices we discussed, focusing on the process instead of just the end goal?
Yeah.
Enjoying the simple things in life, recognizing that our worth isn't tied to our achievement.
Right. Those things help us step off that hedonic treadmill and appreciate what we have right now.
They help us shift from looking for external validation to finding fulfillment within.
So we start to build a sense of self-worth that doesn't depend on what we achieve.
When we feel that abundance, we naturally feel more grateful for what we have, and that leads to more contentment and joy.
And that contentment doesn't mean we can't have goals or ambitions.
Not at all. It just gives us a stronger foundation to pursue those goals from.
It's like we're resetting our internal compass. Instead of being driven by lax's life, we're guided by a feeling of wholeness and gratitude.
And that makes our approach to life and to our ambitions more sustainable and more fulfilling in the long run.
It allows us to pursue goals that really matter to us, goals that align with our values, and maybe even contribute to something bigger than ourselves.
And when our motivation comes from that place of purpose and meaning, it's a much more fulfilling experience.
It's like we're finally free to run our own race, not the race that society tells us to run.
Exactly. And that race, it might be challenging at times, but it's ultimately going to lead to a deeper, more lasting sense of happiness.
And I think it's a good reminder for all of us to reevaluate how we view success and fulfillment.
It's not about achieving some perfect state, but about appreciating the present moment, setting meaningful goals, and finding contentment in the process.
Before we go, is there a final thought you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Just this, what small step can you take today to bring more joy and meaning into your own journey?
That's a great question for all of us to ponder. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. And until next time, may you find those moments of genuine fulfillment in your everyday life.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Deep Thoughts Podcast. I hope you found insights and inspiration to take with you on your journey of self-growth. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to follow us on social media to stay updated on new releases and exclusive content. See you next time, where we'll continue to help you grow and explore your full potential.